Hey guys, with the arrival of Star Wars Battlefront 2's final content update, I think it's finally time to give my review on Battlefront 2's single-player instant action mode, and then talk about if it's worth comparing to the original Battlefront 2's instant action game mode by Pandemic in 2005. I've gotten a lot of requests to review instant action since its initial release into the game in September of 2019, but it came to the game as an incomplete experience in my opinion, missing some key features like vehicle AI and the playability of all three eras. But that's changed since we now have a complete experience for instant action as of April 29, 2020, where the final update to the game came out and added in the remaining and last bits of content to make instant action an incredible full and complete experience. So today, I'll be giving you my definitive review of instant action for EA Star Wars Battlefront 2. But before we jump into the review, if you'd like to support the channel and the content we make here directly, while we don't have a Patreon, we do have a feature-length indie film over on Amazon about zombies and action and horror and other things you might find interesting, if you're a cool cat of course. The link for it will be in the description below, and all proceeds will go into future projects and videos that we make, so we hope you'll give it a chance. But let's get into the review. To start this review, I won't be giving the timeline in which the different parts of instant action came to the game, but I'll be talking about instant action in its entirety as it currently exists in the game today at the time of making this video. Instant action in EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a callback to the original instant action from the Battlefront games made by Pandemic, even resembling the same name and gameplay style. Instant action in Battlefront 2 2017 is made up of three different game modes: Supremacy, Missions Attack, and Missions Defend. Instant Action Supremacy is the ground phase of Online Supremacy, a game mode that has players compete for command posts like the original Battlefront games. The goal is to be in control of more command posts than the enemy team in order to fill up your reinforcement meter at the top of the screen. Reaching it to 100% means that you win the match. In Online Supremacy, reaching it to 100% progresses you to a capital ship phase, but in Instant Action Supremacy, the whole objective is to capture command posts and fill up your meter. It's playable in all three eras of Star Wars on almost every map with the exception of a few. Instant Action Missions Attack and Defend is the offline single-player version of co-op missions from multiplayer. In multiplayer, you and three friends team up with a team of AI to fight against an opposing team of AI. The goal is to defend or capture command posts depending which mode and faction you're playing. For example, in Missions Attack, you play as the rebels on the Death Star. You are given a select number of command posts to capture. If you're successful, you're given a new set of command posts to capture as you progress to the next area of the map, up until the final command post. There's a linear progression to this game mode rather than the free-flow, non-linear gameplay that Instant Action Supremacy has to offer. In Co-op Defend, depending on the faction and map, your goal is to defend the command posts against the AI. If they manage to capture a command post, you get pushed back to the next set of command posts until the final one. Each map has attack and defend faction already assigned to it, so basically you're just playing the other side of the story on the same map when you play attack and defend. Instant Action Missions has roughly 21 maps for you to play on, and the experience is always different. Both Instant Action Supremacy and Instant Action Missions are both command post based, but have incredibly different playstyles. Instant Action Supremacy is more free-flowing and non-linear like the old Battlefront games by Pandemic. However, the entirety of each large-scale map isn't playable. You're given a large portion of the map to play on, but with the large maps DICE has created, sometimes the playable areas are limited to a certain play area of the map. Instant Action Missions is a progressive linear version of Supremacy in which once you take a set of command posts, you progress to the next area of the map. While this mode is more linear than Supremacy, you usually play on the entirety of each large-scale map in phases. The inclusion of Instant Action Missions is a welcome addition to the game as it creates variety from the free-flowing non-linear style of Supremacy. Missions feels very chaotic and purposeful, whereas Supremacy can feel a bit empty at times since sometimes the maps are so large that there isn't enough AI players to make them feel full. But this is mainly a problem for consoles since they only support 14 vs 14 matches due to hardware limitations, whereas PC can have 32 vs 32 AI matches on Supremacy. Missions is more suitable for consoles since the AI is forced to focus on roughly 2 command posts at one time instead of 5, meaning that battles feel more full since they're focused on a single point instead of being spread out across the map. Instant action supremacy can also be a bit buggy and predictable in that the AI will sometimes congest at a single command post instead of working their way to capture other command posts within the map. Also, the lack of spawn points for AI also takes away from the experience. Depending on what faction you play on for each map, the default spawn position is always the same, meaning that if you capture a command post near the enemy default spawn point, you can expect it to always be taken back within seconds after you capture it, since the AI will always spawn near the same command post regardless if you captured them or not, making the experience become predictable. There are a few exceptions, but most maps that I played on, I noticed that the enemy team always had the same 2 command posts captured along with the player team, and that the battle on these large-scale maps would only take place in the same area of the middle neutral command post between them. To fix this, it would have been cool to have the AI be able to spawn in near their captured command post instead of the one default position they always spawn in on. Also, giving the player the ability to command the AI to either follow you or direct their focus on a single command post to capture would have changed the dynamic of instant action supremacy to be more strategic and varied each time you play, since the AI seems to only focus on the same command posts each time you boot up a match. Both instant action supremacy and missions support hero and vehicle AI, a welcome surprise over Battlefront 2015's large-scale skirmish mode, which only supported vehicle AI. In instant action, the AI has access to everything you have, including troopers, heroes, vehicles, and special reinforcements such as the rocket trooper and battle droids. The major drawback here is the lack of starfighter support. In both supremacy and missions, starfighters are non-existent. Neither you or the AI has access to take to the skies in an X-Wing or TIE fighter. There are also some iconic vehicles that are also inaccessible as well, such as the AT-AT walkers. While disappointing, this does not ruin the experience of these game modes. While these things would have made instant action feel like the most immersive Star Wars experience to date, it still gives the original Battlefront game's single-player offerings a run for their money. While you won't be boarding capital ships or taking down giant AT-AT walkers, both large-scale maps in instant action are still incredibly immersive and a joy to play. The player is given some options to shape their experience on the battlefront, and the outcome of each match is usually always different. The player has some options for both the enemy and player teams in Supremacy. Come on dude, your car sounds like Stop. The player has some options for both the enemy and player teams in Supremacy, while some options for the player team in missions. Battles can get very hectic on both modes, and you can adjust the difficulty to alter what kind of experience you want to have. In Supremacy, you can even set the bot count to 0 on both teams and explore each beautifully crafted map DICE has developed without worrying about being shot at or killed. It's a fantastic addition, and with it you can choose to handicap your own team or the enemy team to shape the experience you want to have in Supremacy. Missions is a tad different as you aren't given as many options, but the experience is still consistently fun and random as every match you play will have a different outcome. Which I think is my favorite thing about missions mode is that the outcome is always different. The AI never paths exactly the same on the same map, and scenarios that play out, such as when and where enemy heroes show up, seems randomized. This makes for some really fun and memorable, unpredictable experiences. For me, what really separates this from the original Battlefront games, and really any shooter game in general, is how great the AI feels to fight against. Some matches can feel like you're playing online against real people. It doesn't help that the hero AI emotes after they kill you, which is an amazing touch. The AI in instant action is what makes both modes timeless. The AI can control heroes, troopers, and ground vehicles, and it can create some really epic moments that feel like they're straight out of the movies. The AI isn't perfect though, as they can be buggy at times, but when they're working as intended, you feel like you're playing a multiplayer match, or even a scene straight out of the movies. Unfortunately on missions mode, some of the vehicles are buggy, such as the AT-ST walkers on Endor and Yavin 4. For example, you might be in the middle of fighting another hero for control of a command post, and then a walker shows up. Immediately your reaction is to form a tactical retreat as you're clearly outnumbered and outgunned. But then you realize the AT-ST isn't shooting at you. In fact, it's not shooting at anything. In fact, it's just out for its daily stroll enjoying the scenery and the various weathering textures in the game. You realize the AT-ST is a fool and you blow it up. And although you're relieved, the feeling of guilt overtakes you because it wasn't a fair fight and you actually wanted the AT-ST to shoot at you and your team because you're sick and sadistic. Or you just wanted a fun challenge. Unfortunately, this isn't on all maps and the vehicle AI works as intended, but it does hinder the immersion when you don't have to fall back because a walker is advancing on your position with guns blazing. It's something I really hope gets fixed in some sort of hotfix or minor update to the game, as I believe it could definitely change the way players experience instant action. But aside from the small bugs, instant action supremacy and missions are worth the price of the game alone without the other single player offerings the game has to offer. There's so much content packed into instant action that it could honestly be its own game. While it's not perfect, lacking features such as the ability to use cross-era heroes like in arcade mode, and various vehicles such as starfighters, it's still 100% worthy of your time if you're a Star Wars fan or a fan of the Battlefront franchise as a whole. At launch, I would have said the game wasn't worth picking up for its lackluster single-player experience, but in 2020 they really changed the game around and it feels like a fantastic, well-needed addition to Star Wars Battlefront 2. I give Instant Action and EA Star Wars Battlefront 2 an 8.5 out of 10 for being an extraordinary, diverse, fun experience. It definitely warrants having split screen implemented since it's a game mode that you'll want to play with your friends. Unfortunately, at the time of posting this video, the game mode doesn't support split screen due to performance issues. But I do have hope that maybe one day if Battlefront 2 ever releases on next-gen consoles, it would have enough power to support split screen and maybe even more AI bots for consoles. I highly recommend playing Instant Action, even going out of your way to buy the game in order to play Instant Action, as there's even more single player content in the game aside from this flagship beast of a mode. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts on Instant Action are and what you'd like to see implemented by modders in the future, or even Battlefront 3 if it ever becomes a thing. Remember to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and maybe even consider supporting the channel by checking out our little indie film up on Amazon, which we'll have a link to in the description below. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.